Good morning, St. Kitts and Nevis, and welcome to another edition of Inside the News here on Win FM. I am German Abel sitting in today again. Yes, I'm in the hot seat, and this morning, I will first let me apologize. We were experiencing some technical difficulties early this morning, and we're still experiencing those technical difficulties. So if any issues may arise during the program and you hear the theme playing a little longer than it should, that's because we're experiencing some technical difficulties. So I apologize for what transpired earlier this morning and also what, if anything, popped up during the course of the program. So yes, I'm German Abel in today, and we will be discussing, among other things, what transpired over in Guyana earlier this week surrounding the heads of government meeting and several initiatives that came up. But one of the major topics that was discussed is the issue of crime and violence, and what were some of the recommendations that came out of that meeting. We'll dive into comments made by some interesting statements made by Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, surrounding guns and ammunition coming out of the United States. He gave some statistics which I found very much alarming, that they intercepted in within the United States as they continue to partner with the US, the UK, as well as Canada in terms of the whole monitoring of the Caribbean Sea. Yes. But before we do that, we have to acknowledge the people who make the program possible, TDC and Carib Brewery, and then we'll come right back and jump into our discussions this morning. People make the world go. If you need insurance, our service is the best. Home motor insurance can give you more for less. Property insurance can save you a lot of stress. At TDC Insurance Company Limited, about your investment, guarantee you peace of mind. The best team in the business, guarantee you peace of mind. No other company will guarantee you peace of mind. Together we'll succeed and guarantee you peace of mind. TDC Insurance Company Limited, where you get more coverage for less.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly. People make the world go
And we are back here on Inside the News. So as usual, when we start the program, we take a look at some of the major stories that were impacting us locally, regionally, and internationally. So this week, we had a number of issues that were discussed. We had the Attorney General on here, and he discussed a number of matters, including the salary increases. The Prime Minister attended the heads of government meeting in Guyana down there, yes, and a number of issues and topics came up over there. The Prime Minister also, or he and his delegation, has attended the CELAC meeting there in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Yes, we also saw someone was arrested and charged for the murder, one of St. Kitts and Nevis's homicides this year, over in Sandy Point. Yes, across the region, There were a number of issues. Teachers continue to protest down in Guyana. Yes. Yes. Well, we also have the Leeward Islands debating competition continuing here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Yesterday, we had the UWE debating competition, inter-association debating competition, that was won by Mona out of Jamaica. They put up some strong arguments over there. This was an interesting debate that I attended yesterday. Internationally, the U.S. politics continues to make, take over the world news here. We also saw we also are seeing the ongoing war in Ukraine and Russia, Middle East, and all that. So it's a lot that has been going on across the world in terms of news. But today we're gonna jump and listen to Dr. Rowley. He's speaking on a matter that I found as being very, very interesting. Over the last year, in 2023, as the U.S. has been partnering with the Caribbean in terms of their initiative in crime fighting. And he said that they screened a number of packages, and within those packages, yes, within those packages, a number of firearms, illegal firearms, were potentially being smuggled into the Caribbean, as well as a number of ammunition, matching rounds of ammunition. So I'll play that for you. It's going to take a little while to get that due to our technical difficulties. But I found it as being very interesting because we continue the whole discussion surrounding crime and violence here in the Caribbean. People make the world go So so we are prepping to get that clip ready for you now. Yes, as I said, with a little technical difficulties in the studio, but yes, we'll cue that clip up for you.
Interestingly enough, this was discussed at this major gathering of CARICOM, which probably I would say might be, in terms of number of contact hours, the meeting lasted from Sunday to Wednesday. Normally we meet for 2 days. The meeting also had the participation of a large number of external delegations at very high levels. That is not normal. And as I left there this afternoon, I left just ahead of the arrival at the time of the arrival of President Lula, who was the last contact that we had of Brazil. And the meeting would end on that note, but because of my prior arrangements, I couldn't stay on for that part of the meeting, but Minister Brown is there representing Trinidad and Tobago. But the fact that I would say this was probably the main CARICOM meeting in the last 2 decades should tell you that something is happening and we are having an effect. But with respect to crime and security, this document is what? Report on the crime and security for the period July to December 2023, presented by Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. And I did that in the context of, you know, there's a kind of a quasi-cabinet in CARICOM where President Ali is responsible for agriculture. I'm responsible for regional security. Mr. Motley is responsible for finance and the economy and so on. This document reported on what the Caribbean region and our regional institutions interacting with governmental bodies have been doing. And I just want to quote a little bit of it for you, because it is rooted in the symposium that we had in Trinidad and Tobago in April of last year, where the CARICOM bodies declared violent crime as a public health issue. And every CARICOM country is focusing on that and seeing what we are required to do to bring about a proper response to this upsurge and sustained violent society that we are in fact experiencing. The report speaks about the last quarter of 2023, where with financial support from the United States Department of State, because you see, we did invite the United States and Canada to work with us on this issue of attempting to smother the violent crime upsurge. We in CARICOM believe that we cannot fight this without the cooperation of these people, especially the United States, because the United States is the source of much of the problem, the guns and the ammunition, and the loose way with which these items are available in the United States for onward transmission to Trinidad and Tobago and other CARICOM countries. We had to engage the United States. 3 or 4 countries reported that they are already this year at record levels of murders as compared to the recent past. Bahamas, St. Lucia, Trinidad and Tobago, and of course we know Jamaica has this ongoing problem as well. So we had the United States Department of State engaged in April, and in fact, subsequent to that, there was a technical workshop in October that was held in Barbados, and that had to do with establishing a steering committee which was supported by the European Union. So we do have support from a number of agencies, entities, and countries at the technical level in trying to improve our response, mainly dealing with the quality of our security services. Because it does not matter how often we speak about the horrors of the crimes and the behavior of the criminals, the response has to come from the quality of our security response, our security services. So these countries have been working with us on that. And of course, when we look at the outcome, we see that high up on the list is reduced access to assault weapons. And it speaks directly to mitigating the epidemic of the availability of small arms used in illegal activities to directly reduce the rate of homicide. That is where a lot of the focus is, trying to deprive the criminals of a supply of arms and ammunition. And within CARICOM, there's a general partnership of a number of CARICOM agencies, all of whom are focusing on this issue of violent crime and violence as a public health issue. And so to that effect, we have CARFA working with us, CARICOM Impacts, University of the West Indies, and they're doing the relative surveys and feeding it back into the CARICOM Secretariat. And the report to the, on the question of fighting against illicit trafficking in arms, this was the report that came to CARICOM from what we have been doing at that level. And it says, the threat posed by illicit trade in firearms in CARICOM remains very high, and in many countries, the acquisition of and use of high-powered weapons have increased. This is the CARICOM position. With the operational establishment of the Crime Gun Intelligence Unit, because we did form that last year, a Crime Gun Intelligence Unit. There has been an increase of information and intelligence sharing between the authorities in CARICOM member states and the United States of America, and the establishment of trends through information and greater awareness in dealing with trafficking in what we call crime guns, which is guns occupied illegally, obtained illegally, and being used to commit crimes in the country. The Crime Gun Intelligence Unit, which involves CARICOM and United States, and are continuing to undertake the following activities. We did have an operation called Operation Hammerhead. This operation had as its primary objective the interdiction of firearms moving into Trinidad and Tobago and the wider region, as well as the effective disruption and acquisition of pertinent operational intelligence to strategically reduce illicit trade of weapons across the Caribbean. It was a 3-week exercise that we did, and this exercise started on the 11th of September 2023, and it was largely encouraged and driven from Homeland Security United States. And that agency, working alongside CARICOM Impacts, we had some interactions and sharing of personnel and data with various task forces from the United States. And while the operation
People make the world go
And we are back, and we're back here on Inside the News. So that clip kind of cut short there, but you got the gist of what he was saying. What I really wanted you guys to hear was where he started to explain the impact of Hammerhead, that program that he was talking about there. So he mentioned in that specific, under that specific program, there were 300 plus firearms that were seized. So in all, about 600,000 packages were shipped to the Caribbean region, and 4,000 were referred, 4,000 plus were referred for secondary screening. Yes, 4,000 were recommended for secondary screening. Then, outside of that, they found within the secondary screening 300 plus illegal firearms and 19,000 plus ammunition here in, well, that was destined for the Caribbean region. Yes. That is alarming for us here in St. Kitts and Nevis. That's one of the initiatives that came out of it. So, now let's go a bit deeper. The United States State Department last evening issued an update regarding that particular, well, their discussions with the Caribbean region at the heads of government meeting, and the role in which the U.S. is playing in this entire fight across the region to prevent the smuggling of illegal firearms and its implications. So the U.S. State Department, in its media statement last evening, said the United States ambassador to the United Nations, Linda Thomas Greenfield led a U.S. delegation to Guyana to participate in the U.S. Caribbean Community CARICOM Dialogue on February 25th. Her engagement builds on Vice President Kamala Harris' April 2022 meeting with Caribbean leaders. The Vice President June 2023 engagement of Caribbean leaders in the Bahamas, and Secretary of State Antony Blinken's participation in the 50th CARICOM meeting in July 2023 in Trinidad and Tobago. The following are the activities stemming from the recent efforts in the U.S.'s efforts in the region. 1. Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, which was signed into law in 2022. It seeks to increase penalties for straw purchasers and U.S.-sourced firearm trafficking. Recent firearm cases. On February 1st, Haiti's 400 Mawuzu gang leader pleaded guilty to his role in gun-running conspiracy that smuggled firearms to Haiti in violation of U.S. export laws, and the laundering of ransom paid for U.S. hostages to the gang in 2021. His former girlfriend, Elindia Tunis, pleaded guilty to the same 48-count indictment. Joycelyn Doar, a Haitian citizen also affiliated with the gang, was sentenced to 60 months. Coordinator for U.S. firearm prosecution. In 2023, the Department of Justice named a coordinator for Caribbean firearms prosecution to elevate firearms trafficking and prosecution and help implement the provision of the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. Operation Hammerhead. Partnering with the CARICOM Crime Gun Intelligence Unit, the U.S. Homeland Security Investigations initiated an interagency multi-jurisdictional surge operation to target illicit firearms being trafficked from the United States to the Caribbean. Through collaboration with the Caribbean partners, Operation Hammerhead has to date resulted in, and this is what I found as being very, very alarming, 339 firearms, 26,495 rounds of ammunition, and over 400 magazines were seized during that operation. Yes, so imagine 26,000 rounds of ammunition being directed to the Caribbean. Some may have been destined for St. Kitts and Nevis. Some destined for Trinidad, Jamaica, Guyana, Barbados, wherever it is. We know the Caribbean region has been plagued by gun violence in recent months, years, to be more specific, and St. Kitts and Nevis has not been immune to that. So, yes, that is where we will have our discussion today. Yes, we'll have our discussion today. The phone lines are open, and you can share your thoughts on that and more. We'll continue with more Inside the News on the other side of the break. On the other side of the break, yes.
TDC Financial Services, we're here for you to help you make your dreams come true. Whether your needs are big or small, we'll support you with them all. TDC Financial Services, we are strong. TDC Financial Services, this is where you belong.
TDC Financial Services, where money is made easy.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
People make the world go
hearing voices, and we go straight to the phone lines. Caller, good morning.
Good morning.
Caller, good
and
morning.
Greetings once more in the name of Jesus Christ, he who saves sinners from their sins and from hell, and the second person of the eternal Trinity. Now, first of all, I would like to say that, and as has always been saying, our problems, all of them, are the results of us disobeying the Bible as individuals and as a people. And the only solution to all of our problems, including our crime problems, political problems, church problems, family problems, you name them all. The only solution and answer for them is the Bible, obeying the Bible. And I'm going to say this, and I have always been saying it. Part of the Bible way. Let me rephrase it this way. Making guns illegal and drugs illegal is going against the Bible. And that goes contrary to the solution in dealing with our problem, making guns and drugs illegal. Now, because of that, countries that has relaxed gun laws in allowing the citizens to freely bear and carry arms have seen great reductions in crime. Countries and areas that has come down and clamped down more on guns and drugs have seen crimes increase. And as Einstein once said, the definition of madness is to be doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So we need to know what the Bible says, and we need to limit ourselves to what the Bible says, implement what the Bible says. The Bible tells you murderers, based upon the witnesses of 2 or 3 witnesses, supposed to be executed. We ditch that. Instead of we doing what the Bible says, we're doing things that the Bible did not say and goes against the Bible in order to solve our problems, and it cannot work. So we need to know what the Bible says. We need to implement what the Bible says 100%. Enforce what the Bible says in every area of life. The experts cannot help us because the experts do not know the answers. The experts just as lost and in the dark, those experts who do not know what the Bible says and who are actually going against what the Bible says, which is probably 99.9% of the experts.
All right, Carl.
So I just wanted to say this and to remind people during this Christmas season, this Easter season, if you die without Christ, you're going to end up in hell for all eternity. Only the blood of Christ could save you from hell and from your sin.
All right, thanks, Carl.
Hello? Thank you.
Okay, so we heard from that caller there. I have differing views on his opinion, but we go back to the phone lines before I respond to that. Caller, good morning.
Greetings, my brother.
Greetings.
How are you?
I am well. How are you?
I am well. Good thanks. Okay, Operation Hammerhead. Operation Hammerhead will be like the war against drugs. The war against drugs. If they cannot arrest the problem they are having in their places, them and those. And you see, when we hear the word security, if security is not collective, if it is not collective security, it is not going to work. And when we hear the word crime, remember, we are the victims of the worst crime against humanity. And that case haven't been tried up to the time, March 2nd, 2024, according to the Western Gregorian calendar. A case ain't try yet. So, the situation is like putting the cat in front of the donkeys and or the horses. We have matters to deal with that is not touched yet. And when I say we, I mean we and all of them, because we are still here, you know. We are still scattered in these plantation lands. They do as they like with us. Atrocities that is unimaginable we've been through. And it is the trauma, the amount of trauma, what we are facing in these places from those same atrocities that is plaguing us with all kind of isms, all kind of things. We turn from one another like crab in barrel. And they are failing to address even the call for reparation and apologies. They don't want to face it up to the time. I mean, they're talking about, hey, we have matters to deal with. They have matters to deal with. And if we deal with it, and you see our leaders in the Caribbean, they better get that together.
Okay, so caller, as you said that, right? Would you say that Operation Hammerhead is a start to the success that we're looking for? Because if you intercepted 339 firearms destined for the region, 26,000 or 23,000 thereabout ammunition, rounds of ammunition, and just about 400 barrels. Would you say then that it's a success because you basically you do not necessarily know what would have transpired with those specific weapons and ammunition?
My brother, things should be dealt with from the root. They are the makers of these things. They are the makers. So therefore, if they put in place in their respective places, if they put in place what they ought to put in place to curb the manufacturing of these dangerous weapons, these weapons wouldn't be there to be intercepted for us to have the desire to want them. They are the warriors of the earth. They spend more money upon arms and ammunition than, hey, watch your man. If we stop play games, you know. If we stop play games with them, now they are playing games. They are playing games. And if we continue to play games with them, we're going to in for some serious bam around here. If we straight up.
Okay, caller. I feel your energy, but you see why I'm asking that question, right? And I understand.
No, I know why you're asking.
Hold on, caller. Hold on. Let's rationalize the situation, right? So, in essence, you're saying that they must first deal with the underlying problem, which is the manufacturing of the guns, right?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
But within the United States, which has enshrined in its constitution that's their First Amendment right, or that's their right. It's part of the Constitution. But at the same time, right, it is because of that we realize that a lot of people, including Caribbean nationals living in the United States, have been utilizing these weapons and somehow smuggling them to the Caribbean or getting them to the Caribbean. But because of that, and we all recognize it, you, me, the governments across the region our brothers and sisters in the different islands have recognized this particular issue. Now, they've engaged with the U.S. authorities from the Vice President to the Secretary of State and everybody else. So now that they've done that, the United States has been taking steps, and I read that based on the State Department's press release sent out last evening, that they've been making steps, right, which is a good sign. But at the same time, how far can we go? Because we know Mexico and these other territories in the Caribbean basically are suing United States and gun manufacturers for the weapons coming into the Caribbean. So for me, I think it's a good initiative. It's a good start in terms of tackling the problem.
Okay, I cannot say that you're wrong to say it's a good initiative. You welcome that, but I am saying that is like putting plaster on a sore that needs more than plaster. We need to deal with things as things ought to be dealt with. And if they are not doing it on their own initiative, we need to ask them or demand them to do so. This is not going to stop it. It cannot work. It's not going to work if it is done that way. They need to get to the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is what it is the manufacture. And listen to me. Them don't care about we dying off, you know. We killing one another, you know. Remember I tell you that, you know. Once the tourists not dead, you know. Once them tourists not dead in these places where they just come on the vacation, you know. They don't care about we killing one another, you know. I know that, you know. We know that, without a doubt, that they don't care that we kill off one another. It'd be better for them. They just come and take over these plantations, yeah. So no make it look like them care about we. Them not care about we. And we should care about ourselves. So that is why I say that our decision makers, our leaders, should get it right. CARICOM leaders should get it right. As far as I see, they are pussyfooting. They are pussyfooting.
Okay.
Give thanks to the time. Blessed
All right, thanks,
love.
caller. Back to the phone line here from this caller. Good morning, caller. Caller, good morning.
I was thinking you said about that that America they have they have it in their constitution that they have a right to weapons. I was thinking you said about that America they have the
Okay, caller, can you turn on your radio, please? Can you turn on your radio?
Okay, yeah, okay, but I'm thinking, what about the children's right not to have weapons around them? You there?
I'm listening to you.
You know, I think that there's another problem. America sends people down. They find people and send them down to corrupt politicians in the Caribbean and in Africa. And among to corrupt them, they give them money and they give them guns. It's not well known, but it is known by some of the politicians in the Caribbean, and they're afraid of them. They're afraid of America. So that is the biggest problem we have.
Hold on, caller.
Like the caller, okay. I completely agree with the caller before. The politicians in the Caribbean is afraid of America.
Caller.
Yes?
I want to ask you a question. Just going back to your point. you said the United States, quote unquote, sends people down and money to corrupt our leaders in the Caribbean region. What gives you, what makes you come up with that assessment?
It's been written. There's article written about it.
Okay.
There is several articles written about it.
But so the thing is, right, from my understanding, and is yes, the United States gives the Caribbean money as part of their assistance and aid because whatever happens eventually will affect the United States, regardless of wherever in the world it is, right? And this is not me defending the United States. This is just me being the layman trying to, get the people to understand. But it is up to the individual whether or not to accept a bribe, whether or not to steal monies or whatever. Right, to say.
I completely agree with you.
Right, but
there
to
is
suggest
another point that we need to think about.
Yeah, but
that
hold on, caller.
there have been studies in Trinidad universities that find that we're still suffering from the effects of slavery.
Yeah, I understand. Caller, hold on. I was making the point, right, to suggest that the United States sends people down to do that is kind of a misleading statement to suggest or indicate that that is the case. Now, you shifted as well to the point that Caribbean people are also, the Caribbean regions are suffering from slavery, which still suffering, which is true, and we've all been arguing that point. But continue.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm saying is that in universities around the Caribbean, in Trinidad and Tobago, in Jamaica, they have come to realize and made a decision. They've written articles about it that we're still having today the effects of slavery, and until we get that reparations, get that done, get that accepted, the criticism of the Caribbean we cannot be compared with other countries like Europe, for example. Are you with me?
I'm listening to you. I'm listening to you make your point.
So when they make these kind of statistics, these are things need to be taken into consideration. I'm not taking the responsibility away from the politicians here, giving Caribbean people, psychological help. But we need help in the Caribbean and in Africa with psychological help.
But Carla, isn't that the responsibility of Caribbean leaders to seek that assistance? Because based on what I read earlier and what Dr. Rowley presented, they, which meaning Caribbean leaders, including the Bahamas Prime Minister, recognize that guns and ammunition, those are issues plaguing the Caribbean, and they found that the United States is a source market for these issues. So they approach these people. But Blinken was invited last year to CARICOM's meeting in Trinidad. Regional leaders also met with the U.S. Vice President, and they raised this particular issue, right? So to suggest again that the United States is somehow corrupting or bringing this and not dealing with a particular issue affecting the Caribbean is kind of misleading for me. It's kind of misleading because we have to approach. It's like me saying, "Hey, I have a problem with you, right? With the way you cook, but the cooking is not the problem. The problem is how you do whatever it is that you do, right? So if I ask you to correct one thing, but then there's another underlying issue that I did not ask you to correct, then that for me is where the problem is." Right, you have to come.
I completely agree with you that the major problem is us, and we're not united together as the Caribbean. We are very what I would say very selfish. Everybody is stretching out their hand to America. So whatever America decides, they look up to America, and it does. and that is the basis problem. We cannot demand anything from America or the Western world. We never do. We are just beggars. And that is really the basis problem. And these effects is going to wipe out our people. Just like that, the caller before me said, it's going to wipe out a lot of our people, and our people is going to be replaced. In the Caribbean, definitely, the people are going to be replaced by the white people.
Okay. All right. Thanks, caller. I have to take a break now, but you can call back.
Yes.
You
Okay.
can call back and we can engage.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye. Thanks.
Yes. So we had that caller sharing his thoughts there on that issue of guns and ammunition being found here in the Caribbean and so forth. But we have to acknowledge our partners, TDC Carib Brewery, and then we'll come right back and continue with more Inside the News here on Win FM.
People make the world go. If you need insurance, our service is the best. Home motor insurance can give you more for less. Property insurance can save you a lot of stress. At TDC Insurance Company Limited, we care about your investment. Guarantee you peace of mind. The best team in the business. Guarantee you peace of mind. No other company will guarantee you peace of mind. Together we'll succeed and guarantee you peace of mind. TDC Insurance Company Limited, where you get more coverage for less.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
People make the world go
And we are back here on Voices Inside the News here on Win FM. I'm German Abel sitting in today, and we are discussing the recent disclosure by Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley out of Trinidad and Tobago that Operation Hammerhead, which is an initiative between several agencies within the Caribbean and the United States, and they have successfully netted and removed and seized firearms, ammunitions, as well as barrels from entering the Caribbean region. Over 600,000 packages were destined for the Caribbean in 2023, and they removed 339 firearms, more than 23,000 rounds of ammunition, and 400 barrels. Yes, that underscores the level of weapons and weaponry that are coming out of the United States into the Caribbean region, which has been a source for the increased gun violence that we're seeing here in the region. And St. Kitts and Nevis is not immune to that problem. Last year we recorded 30 plus homicides here in St. Kitts and Nevis, with many of those being committed using firearms. Yes. So it's a start that the Caribbean leaders are taking in terms of the approach to dealing with this problem, because as we've heard time and time again, especially from the vocal Prime Minister, Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister Gaston Brown has been speaking, and Prime Minister Drew and the police force here and the High Command, they've all been reiterating the fact that we do not produce firearms, we do not produce weapons, we do not produce bullets here in the Caribbean, much less in the individual territories. And because of that, we have to get to the root and the source of the problem, and they've recognized that, hey, United States is the source of those weapons, illegal weapons coming into the Caribbean region. So they've been engaging with them. And because they've been engaging with them, initiatives have been put in place. Are they perfect as of right now? No. But at least it is a start, and we must be able to acknowledge that, and give the United States commendation for at least making that start, making that push, making that progress in terms of assisting the Caribbean region. Yes, in terms of assisting the Caribbean region in fighting and tackling the scourge of gun violence that we've been seeing here. I could remember 2 years ago, the Prime Minister of the Bahamas, Philip Davis, he reiterated, hey, one murder, they found that murders in their territory were connected to, or was connected to an individual in the Bahamas, in Florida, who bought many 20-something firearms, right? One individual is able to buy 20 plus firearms, and many of those homicides, they were connected to that particular individual who bought those guns. How did they get into the Bahamas? That's another question. Trinidad and Tobago, they have seen an increase, an uptick in gun violence. Jamaica as well. So, as I'm saying, it's not a perfect fit for the problem, but it's a start, and we must give commendations to those who are seeking and pushing and fighting with us to get the scourge of gun violence down here in St. Kitts and Nevis and across the region. And it was a matter that was discussed at the highest level in CARICOM at the just concluded CARICOM Heads of Government meeting there in Guyana. Right, I know it will come up again when regional leaders meet in July, right, because this is an ongoing issue that there's no perfect fit for, that we all must be able to, stand up and say, hey, we are definitely in need of ideas and initiatives to combat this growing problem. And if it's tackling it from the source, which is the United States, and preventing those firearms from coming out of the United States into the Caribbean, that is a good start. Well, it's now just after 12. Yes, it's just about 12 o'clock, or just slightly thereafter. And we have to break now to join the midday news to get the latest in the world of news in St. Kitts and Nevis and across the Caribbean and internationally as well. I know Mr. Brown was upstairs working hard to get the newscast finished, and I'm seeing it here, so that means it's completed. So I'll take a break now, take a pause, and we'll jump and hear the news, and then we'll come right back and continue with more Inside the News and continue specifically with this discussion of crime and violence and the United States input in fighting the problem and Operation Hammerhead.
Found the sound. 98.9 Win FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, and Carib Brewery.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive live on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
With over a century of perfection behind the Mackeson name, a smooth blend with perfect balance and richness, it's no wonder Mackeson Triple Stout has a legacy of perfection. Enjoyed the world over. Introducing our new look with the same great taste. Mackeson. All hail the king.
Please drink responsibly.
When it comes to the important things in life, your health, your education, your choice of a life partner, and of course your insurance provider, only the best will do. Caribbean Alliance Insurance is the only insurance company in the Eastern Caribbean with an A excellent rating. We have a robust 3-tier reinsurance strategy that protects our policyholders from multiple catastrophes, even if they occur in quick succession. We spread our risks over 18 territories, ensuring minimal impact to individual territories when a disaster strikes. We provide an excellent claims experience. Claim settlement is usually between 24 to 48 hours. Our A excellent rating means that you are more secure with us. Contact us for motor, property, marine, public liability, employer's liability, and other policies. Delisle Walwyn, people you can trust. Local agent for Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Tomorrow secured.
With the WINNFM Midday News, I am Kevon Brown. Our top stories: Dr. Joel Clark at the 6th session of the United Nations Environment Assembly calls for SIDS to act globally, commit to shifting power, and collectively work on climate crisis. Mediation between Guyana Teachers Union and government begins. Grenada Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell underscores the urgent need to address crime and violence as a public health concern. Internationally, the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention drops 5-day COVID isolation guidelines. Now the details. The 6th session of the United Nations Environment Assembly, UNEA 6, started on February 26th and ended on March 1st, 2024, at the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP, headquarters in Nairobi, Kenya. The Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis was represented by the Minister of Sustainable Development, Environment, Climate Action and Constituency Empowerment, the Honourable Dr. Joel Clark, Cabinet Secretary Dr. Marcus Natta, and Evan Perry, environmental scientist in the Department of Environment, Ministry of Agriculture et al. In the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. In a Facebook post, the Climate Action Minister shared that the delegates met with Christopher Corbin, coordinator of UNEP, Cartagena Convention Secretariat and Caribbean Environment Program, to discuss key country priorities, the need for stronger partnerships, and the swift ratification of the specially protected areas and wildlife and land-based pollution protocols. Senator Clark, during the 6th session of the United Nations Environment Assembly, emphasized the Federation's unique challenges and aspirations while advocating for, quote, effective, inclusive, and sustainable multilateral actions to address the triple planetary crisis of climate change, nature and biodiversity loss, and pollution and waste, while underscoring the nation's dedication to a sustainable future, end quote.
St. Kitts and Nevis, the smallest independent nation in the Western Hemisphere, is confronted with challenges that are emblematic of those faced by many island nations. The escalating threats of climate-related disasters, the fragility of our ecosystems, and the imperative to navigate a sustainable future. As a small island developing state and a large ocean state, our nation's size, our people, our climate, and our sovereignty are deeply interwoven with our commitment to sustainability, a commitment that spans generations. It is our vision and intention to become a sustainable island state. Our vision for transformation is rooted in resilience, innovation, inclusivity, and stewardship. We envision a nation where the most vulnerable are protected, supported by reliable energy, where food security and food justice are hallmarks of our agricultural sector, where economies are inclusive and sustainable and based on principles of zero waste, where all survive and thrive, be they educator, banker, fisher folk, farmer, or politician, all while safeguarding our environment and biodiversity from pollution. This requires not just our intention, but global partnership. Madam President, in aligning with the Caribbean High-Level Dialogue Outcome document, St. Kitts and Nevis acknowledges the critical need for international support to mitigate the immediate and long-term effects of climate change, despite our minimal contributions to this global crisis. Our active engagement with our nationally determined contributions under the Paris Agreement, along with our ongoing revision and implementation of our National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan, underscore our unwavering commitment to a sustainable future. As we strive to turn dialogue into meaningful action, St. Kitts and Nevis urges the UN Environment Programme to provide robust support to the 4th SIDS Conference in Antigua and Barbuda in May. This pivotal gathering offers a crucial platform for SIDS to catalyze tangible initiatives to transition from discussion to decisive action in climate justice and sustainability. St. Kitts and Nevis fully endorses the UNEA 6 Ministerial Declaration for Effective, Inclusive and Sustainable Actions, underscoring our national dedication to sustainability. As we embark on this transformative journey to become a sustainable island state, we invite partnership and determination. Together, we can secure a legacy of prosperity.
Small island developing nations continue to be driving forces behind the calls for more tangible action towards combating climate change during the 6th session of the United Nations Environment Assembly, using the global stage to showcase SIDS' leadership in environmental conservation and sustainable development. St. Kitts and Nevis lent its voice to a high-level conversation on highlighting the role of SIDS in fighting the triple planetary crisis of climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. The 6th session of the United Nations Environment Assembly focused on how multilateralism can help tackle the triple planetary crisis. Minister Clark joined Ministers of Environment, UNEP Goodwill ambassadors, and the President of the United Nations General Assembly, Mr. Dennis Francis, in the call to action for SIDS in this fight. In regional news, mediation between Guyana Teachers Union and government begins, Guyana News Source reports.
Both the government and the Guyana Teachers Union have expressed optimism of a workable outcome following their first day of court-ordered mediation, which is aimed at seeking an end to the ongoing strike by teachers while addressing their concerns. At the start of the talks today, the Guyana Teachers Union submitted its proposal, which included the grounds for the resumption of duty by teachers who have been on strike for the past 4 weeks. GTU attorney Darren Wade, who accompanied the union's president and other union officials to the meeting, told reporters that the GTU is hopeful and optimistic with the mediation.
The union made its proposals, and it is for the attorneys for the state, the Attorney General, to confer with the authorities and return to us this afternoon.
Mr. Wade declined to disclose the details of the union's proposal, but stated that the GTU is optimistic of a positive outcome.
I am very optimistic. I know Mr. Ramdan is King's Counsel. He has the capacity and so forth to speak to those in authority to come to a resolution.
Meanwhile, the state's attorney in the talks, Darsham Ramdani, said the mediation process is advancing well so far. He is representing the Attorney General in the talks. The Attorney General is on travel duty abroad.
Well, we've had I believe, a fruitful session. It is good that the union is ready now to engage the government again, so we are hoping that those talks can resume. We are taking a break, coming back this afternoon at 2 o'clock, to have some more discussions on this matter. The mediators have been doing a good job so far.
Mr. Ramdani said the government's priority is getting the teachers back to the classroom. And he also said the government is prepared to discuss, engage, and ensure that the status quo returns to normalcy sooner. Like Wade, he emphasized the importance of having the mediation process take its course. Meanwhile, Senior Counsel Robin Stobie, one of the two mediators, upon exiting the room, told reporters in a brief comment that they're still at it. The other mediator, Senior Counsel Edward Laku, in a similar fashion, said he too was optimistic.
Sorry?
Meeting at 2 o'clock.
Okay, how was the talk this morning?
Oh, coming on.
Are you optimistic that this afternoon?
I'm always optimistic.
Have you made progress today?
Oh, certainly.
High Court Judge Sandal Kissoon initiated the mediation process on Thursday with the hope of getting the parties to find common ground to bring an end to the nationwide strike action. The strike action is ongoing even as the mediation process has started.
Grenada Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell underscores the urgent need to address crime and violence as a public health concern. Grenada Broadcasting Network has that report.
In a compelling address at the closing press conference of the 49 CARICOM heads of government on Wednesday, Mitchell outlined CARICOM's commitment to tackling the root cause of crime, viewing it as a multifaceted issue requiring a comprehensive approach.
It is a matter of fundamental importance to CARICOM. It affects, in varying terrible degrees, each of our islands, countries, and as CARICOM heads, we are deeply engaged on this matter. We want to reiterate that crime, public safety, violence is not a matter for governments only, not a matter for CARICOM heads only. It is a matter that should engage all of society, all of the region.
Citing alarming statistics and the devastating impacts of crime and violence on communities in Grenada, Prime Minister Mitchell emphasized the necessity of treating this issue with the same urgency and resources as public health crises.
We have some per capita alarming statistics. Per capita homicides, killing of our people, particularly young people, something that we cannot be proud of in marking the 50th anniversary of CARICOM. And so we recognize the profound importance of public safety. We appreciate, despite all of the hard work.
He outlined several key initiatives aimed at addressing crime and violence as a public health concern.
We need to make sure that criminals understand that we would not tolerate them moving from island to island within the community to escape consequences of the actions. Some of the islands have begun to ratify documentation that is required to make sure that this becomes a reality. And we intend to press forward urgently on this matter to make sure that it quickly is ratified by all member states so that we can address this. There are various examples of other things that we need to do regionally, from beefing up our resources to our law enforcement and regional or law enforcement and intelligence and security agencies to make sure that we can share intelligence on emerging criminal trends, gang activity, money laundering. All of these are activities that we have to pursue and pursue collectively as a region.
As the heads of government move forward with their new approach, all eyes will be on the implementation of these initiatives and the impacts on reducing crime and violence across the region. Nisha Peters, GBN News.
We now bring you these international reports.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention officially dropped its 5-day COVID-19 isolation guidelines. It now says people can return to normal activities if they are fever-free for at least 24 hours. In relaxing the rules, the agency said in a statement, the U.S. has far fewer hospitalizations and deaths now due to COVID-19, and more tools than ever to fight flu, COVID, and RSV. The guidelines were last updated in December 2021. The CDC, though, does say those at risk, such as elderly over the age of 65 or people with weakened immune systems, should still take more precautions. Meanwhile, the agency signed off on the use of updated COVID vaccines as a second annual shot for adults aged 65 and older on Wednesday. The CDC says 22% of adults report receiving an updated COVID-19 jab for 2023 to 2024, including 42% of those aged 65 or older.
Gaza under fire again. An Israeli airstrike hit a residential area and a mosque in Deir al-Balah overnight, killing several Palestinians and injuring many more. The attack spared no one, filling Al-Aqsa Hospital with victims of all ages. In the aftermath of Thursday's strike on Palestinians queuing for food, more bodies have been found. A UN team that met victims says many of those they saw in a North Gaza hospital had suffered gunshot wounds.
As I speak to you, this hospital is treating more than 200 people that were injured yesterday. We have seen people with gunshot wounds, we have seen amputees, and we have seen children as young as 12 that were injured yesterday. These events cannot be allowed to go on. We need to have safe, secure passage throughout Gaza to reach the people that need humanitarian aid.
There have been airdrops of food from some countries, but it hasn't been nearly enough for the many Palestinians who are struggling to survive. The UN is now demanding full access to northern Gaza.
We need every single crossing into Gaza opening. We need equipment, we need food, and these people need to have not just food and water. The hospitals need equipment, they need specialized services, they need special machines.
But despite global outcry and condemnations, aid efforts still face relentless obstruction. And malnutrition has a huge problem, especially for children.
Malnutrition plays a major role in the number of children that come to us, and as a result, the number of deaths happening. When a child is supposed to eat 3 meals a day and ends up eating 1 meal, that's not enough for him.
Doctors and aid groups in Gaza are calling on the international community to confront Israel for its military actions and ensure that there is urgent humanitarian relief for its besieged population. Axel Zaimovic, Al Jazeera.
A residential building has been damaged in a suspected drone attack in the Russian city of St. Petersburg. The mayor says there are no casualties and residents from the affected apartments have been safely evacuated. St. Petersburg and surrounding areas have recently faced several drone attacks, though it's hundreds of kilometers from the front line. In Ukraine, 4 people have been killed in a Russian drone attack in the port city of Odessa. A 3-year-old boy was among the victims. His body was found under the rubble. The drone hit the 9th floor of a high-rise residential building early in the morning. Regional authorities say 6 people are missing. Let's get more on this with Rob McBride in Kiev. And Rob, what can you tell us about the aftermath of this attack?
Yeah, I mean, there was a total, according to the Ukrainian authorities, of 17 of these Iranian-made Shahid drones fired overnight in attacks against Ukraine, some of them targeting the Sumy and Kharkiv regions in the north and the east of Ukraine, but the most serious attack coming in the south and the port city of Odessa. Authorities there say 8 drones were launched. Most of them were intercepted, but there was this direct strike on this 9-story apartment building where most of the casualties seem to have occurred. Now, 4 people have been confirmed killed in the strike, including a 3-year-old child. Around 10 others are injured, but others still unaccounted for. So emergency units have been at the scene, working through the hours of darkness, through the daytime, looking for more injured or more victims of this attack. Meanwhile, it has been condemned by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, saying that this is, again, according to him, an example of Russia continuing to wage its fight against the civilians of Ukraine, and using the opportunity to call on Ukraine's Western backers to provide more in terms of air defenses, saying that the air defenses of Ukraine have to be bolstered to give a level of protection to Ukrainian civilians, saying that air defense missiles, he says, save lives. Sammy?
Elon Musk is suing OpenAI for breach of contract. The billionaire entrepreneur says the US firm is now putting profit before its founding principle of developing AI responsibly. Mr. Musk, who helped set up the firm, says Microsoft has ploughed billions into OpenAI and has in effect turned it into a subsidiary. The two companies deny the claim, but US regulators are investigating the parameters of Microsoft's investment. Mr. Musk left OpenAI in 2018 to set up his own rival. He has warned before that the unfettered use of generative artificial intelligence could pose an existential threat. Microsoft just bought one of the emerging AI companies in France this week. They're already under investigation, Annabelle, over competition laws. Do you think Microsoft is starting to suffocate the space that there is for innovation?
Certainly, I think it's problematic when it comes to artificial intelligence. It's a field where we need as many contenders able to climb the ladder and fewer large organizations which are creating this revolutionary technology but pulling the ladder up behind them. You know, I think there are serious questions to be asked about Elon Musk's motivations, about the world's richest man complaining about profit making over benefit to humanity, which some may view as a little self-serving. That said, I think that there are very serious questions that we need to ask at the government level across the world about whether AI is going to benefit humanity or whether it is going to harm mankind. And if we have fears over the latter, which certainly some politicians have voiced, then how are they going to regulate it? Because in the UK, at least, they were very slow to regulate the internet. And when they did eventually pass the Online Safety Bill, it was a very far wide-reaching piece of legislation which encompassed arguably far more than actually needed to, without addressing the fundamental concerns that we have over safety online.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, Ian, whether actually maybe it's a better thing that the big companies are in charge of this and controlling the rollout of this extremely powerful technology. But Annabelle makes a very good point that the big companies that have had charge of social media, Meta, Twitter, TikTok, these sort of big companies, they've not done a very good job of that. So maybe we'd be better going the other way.
They've done a horrible job of it. Social media has basically regulated itself, which meant that it's had no interest in taking responsibility for the well-being of either the people that are on their platforms or the political systems that they operate in, and democracy and our citizens are worse off as a consequence. Now, when it comes to AI, certainly the governments are trying to get a move on governance with much greater urgency, in part because of the lessons that they have learned from the hands-off on social media. And companies are trying with various degrees of success to cooperate with those governments. But it's not at all clear that it's going to succeed. The technology is moving a lot faster than the governments are. And that means the business models are going to matter a lot more for the governance. I do worry that when we think about the future of AI in 3 or 5 years' time, it's quite possible that with the amount of compute required and the amount of energy required to run that compute, that it's only going to be perhaps a very small number of systemically important companies, maybe even working with governments, that will be capable of operating at the cutting edge. That will require a much more assertive governance if that's where the technology goes.
Just in terms, maybe get a quick thought from both of you, because we are a bit pressed for time, but just one social media post that I saw from Miles Taylor, one of our panellists this week. He's been talking to Senator Mark Warner, Ian, and he said that they have a dossier in their hands that the Russians are now able to create these bots and personas on social media using AI in a much more efficient, much more dangerous way than they were able to in 2016, 2020. The concern was that Senator Warner thinks that they've just not had a conversation really within Congress about how they're going to stop that or how they're going to tackle it.
That's right. It's going to require a crisis first. We already saw, one deep fake with a robocall pretending to be Biden in the run-up to the New Hampshire primary. There's going to be a lot more of this, and the companies are going to have to respond very, very quickly with governments as things start to break. We had that with cyber. An entire cybersecurity industry came up after things started to break. That's going to happen on AI.
Annabelle, what about this side? Because I know that there is a sort of intelligence-led approach to it. MI5, I think, are involved in it. Are you convinced by what the government is saying to protect the upcoming British election?
I certainly have concerns. Now, the country at the moment is being run by tech bro Rishi Sunak, who has wanted to try and lead the world on AI regulation. He had hosted a global summit last autumn to that effect, but there are very serious concerns. What really worries me is the pace of change. It was 10 years ago that we were worried about the internet and its ability to be weaponized in order to spread disinformation, to discredit certain candidates in an election. Now we have the rise of AI and, as Ian says, deepfakes, which are going to convince members of the public at a speed that may not be corrected before they go to the polls. So certainly there's a very real concern there, and I'm not sure that the government has the tools yet to address it.
CVS and Walgreens, the two largest U.S. pharmacy chains, will start selling abortion pill mifepristone at stores in several states this month. This comes as Republicans have issued restrictive abortion laws in nearly 24 states since the Supreme Court's overturning of Roe v. Wade in 2022, which ended recognition of a constitutional right to abortion. Walgreens expects to dispense the pills by next week in select locations in New York, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, California, and Illinois, while CVS will file prescriptions for the medication in Massachusetts and Rhode Island in the weeks ahead and expand to additional states on a rolling basis and where it's allowed by law. Mifepristone was approved by the FDA in 2000. It's one of the two drugs used in medical abortion, which accounts for more than half of U.S. abortions. Biden has made access to abortion a key election campaign issue. He called the decision by CVS and Walgreens a milestone, and in a statement said the stakes could not be higher for women across America, citing, quote, relentless attacks on reproductive freedom by Republican elected officials. The announcement Friday comes as anti-abortion groups and doctors in Texas bring a legal challenge to the bill to the U.S. Supreme Court this month. They say the FDA had not adequately considered the risks of the drug when it first approved it or when it later eased restrictions on its distribution. The Supreme Court's eventual ruling in the case is expected by the end of June, in the middle of the presidential race.
You were listening to the Midday News on WINNFM 98.9. The headlines: Dr. Joel Clark at the 6th session of the United Nations Environment Assembly calls for SIDS to act globally, commit to shifting power, and collectively work on climate crisis. Mediation between Guyana Teachers Union and government begins. Grenada Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell underscores the urgent need to address crime and violence as a public health concern. Internationally, the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention drops 5-day COVID isolation guidelines. Thank you for listening.
That was the WINNFM Headline News. The Headline News was brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, and Caribou.
When it comes to the important things in life, your health, your education, your choice of a life partner, and of course your insurance provider, only the best will do. Caribbean Alliance Insurance is the only insurance company in the Eastern Caribbean with an A excellent rating. We have a robust 3-tier reinsurance strategy that protects our policyholders from multiple catastrophes, even if they occur in quick succession. We spread our risks over 18 territories, ensuring minimal impact to individual territories when a disaster strikes. We provide an excellent claims experience. Claim settlement is usually between 24 to 48 hours. Our A excellent rating means that you are more secure with us. Contact us for motor, property, marine, public liability, employer's liability, and other policies. Delisle Walwyn, people you can trust. Local agent for Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Tomorrow secured.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
From the South, 98.9 WINNMedia FM. People make the world go
And we are back here on Inside the News. I am German Abel sitting in today, and we are discussing the latest from the heads of government meeting that was had over, last week, that wrapped up down in Georgetown, and a number of issues were discussed. But Trinidad and Tobago's minister, or Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley rather, he actually held a press conference and he discussed some of what was discussed or some of what transpired at the heads of government meeting, and he spoke specifically about the Hammerhead initiative, which has netted more than 300 firearms from being shipped to the Caribbean, more than 23,000 rounds of ammunition and 400 plus barrels. Yes. So that's our discussion today. That's what we've been focusing on. But before we continue, we have to acknowledge our partners who make the program possible, TDC and Carib Brewery, and then we'll come right back and continue with more Inside the News here on Win FM.
TDC Financial Services, we're here for you to help you make your dreams come true. Whether your needs are big or small, we'll support you with them all. TDC Financial Services, we are strong. TDC Financial Services, this is where you belong.
TDC Financial Services, where money is made easy.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects or sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
People make the world go
And we are back, and as we come right back, we go straight to the phone lines and hear from this caller. Good afternoon, caller.
Hey, good afternoon, brother. How you doing?
I am well. How about you?
Well, I well to you, and as long as you well, I well. Because you're able, and I well able.
That's good.
And, with God, you're more than well able.
Yes, indeed.
Welcome to my month, the month of March. Yesterday was Carnival, right? You were?
Where?
And today's March. Well, I want to give God thanks for life, health, and strength. So I'm a March born, you see? So March means brave. It doesn't matter. Mad Hatter, but March means brave. So happy birthday to all the people born in March. And condolences to all those who are grieving in March. Now to the issue. I have a saying, the things that happen to you are the things that you allow. Let me say it again. The things that happen to me, Sylvine, are the things that I allow. The things that happen to St. Kitts are the things that the people in St. Kitts allow. Now, while many, the American or whatever, our people participate in it. And the hurtful or the hypocrite. Hello? The hypocritical thing is a lot of people in St. Kitts know what's going on. They're busy eating and drinking, the fruits of what they know. The American, look, some of our own people in the USA are part of it. They ship out and we go and clear barrel and we clear things. Sometimes you hear the noise on the radio. The custom want to empty my barrel. But if nothing is in your barrel, you shouldn't be afraid. You understand? And they know what it is. The other day I heard somebody on my phone saying that sometimes the guns come in part and they now come in plastic parts so that they're harder to detect.
Well,
have you heard that?
Well, Miss Henry,
hello?
You hearing me?
Okay, yes, sir.
Okay, so what I was saying is...
What I'm saying, we are partly responsible. We see our people dying. I mean, we watch, we see, we take the pictures. We know their guns. You look at the areas. We see the people who flourishing without working, or even working and over flourishing. And sometimes we say nothing. They give you a beer, they give you $100 bill, and you're glad. And whenever the police seek to intercept you hear, they're going after poor people, and how they ain't going after the rich people. They should go after everybody. But there should be no defense. So a lot of the gun running, we are participating in it. Whether you want to believe it or not, whether low class, high class, middle class, politicians, pastors, preachers, we are part of the problem. And until we get to the point where we prefer the country above ourselves, above our luxuries, our comfort. I mean, we make an excuse, they got this white-collar crime and the blue. It's murder on the street. You ever see a white collar on the road lying down? Our young people, I mean, the other day they found somebody with one lot of bullets and whatnot. Ammunition. Do we have a war? And some of us would have eat before and eat after the police have done it. We must let our people know. It is treacherous. Treacherous is the word I use when you participate to the importation of drugs, guns, and ammunition, because it doesn't add anything to the country. It adds nothing, and it is killing out our people. So we bring the American intervention on ourselves, and I say it and I mean it. Well, you may not welcome it. If you are not participating, I mean you personally, you don't have to worry about it. The Bible said the lies for the lawless. And it grieves my heart, you know. It grieves my heart when they said they intercept all of these barrels and whatever. If you know your family overseas in it, tell them, look, make sure you don't put anything in there, because you know how hard it could be. You go down to clear a barrel, and in the process they discover these things. Who will believe you? Even though your family live in the U.S., engage in that kind of activity, then don't take anything from them, as hard as it sounds. So, you know, I will encourage the police or whoever. Do what you have to do. You know, it grieves my heart. We have lost nearly 100 young people, middle-aged people, to guns and now knife. They're gone to the knife now. And we complaining. We have brought it upon ourselves. When we are there prayer, we should have a whole day of repenting. Because unless you repent and turn, God ain't going to hear you. You could pray from now till next week. If we are continuing to encourage, to facilitate the importation of the same guns and crime and drugs, you're wasting time praying. So I am calling upon our people. I am calling upon our people. If you know your family in it, talk to them. The next man who died on the street may have died by the ammunition that your family, my family, provided. All right, then.
All right, thanks. So, yes, there you had it. That was our caller there. So, again, you know, as we talk a lot about crime and violence, you know, this is one initiative that, and you know, the caller was making that point. This is one initiative that should be commended by the Americans for what they're doing in assisting us in the crime fight here in the Caribbean. We go back to the phone line. Caller, good afternoon.
Greetings forward, my brother.
Greetings.
Okay. First thing I want to do is extend Earth Month greetings to my family and all the other March-born babies. I am not participating in nothing. We guns. Yeah? Neither illegal nor legal. Like police. We don't say no, that all the policemen them to stop carry guns. Let all our stunt on the gunman them. Disarm police also. You see all the legal gun them? Take them away too. Remove them. Let me start afresh. Remove even legal firearms. Take them away. And then all of it jump on gunman. All of it jump on all the gunmen them. Yeah? Yes, we are agreeing that the gun crime and the whatever machete, whatever is a health crisis. It's causing a vibe from the health sector. But listen to me now. You see the way we consume in the Federation and the rest of the Caribbean, it is a bigger thing on top of the health sector. The way people are eating and drinking. And we need to tackle that and reverse that like yesteryears. Yeah. Bigger than the gun and the knife and the this and the that. People are using their teeth to full up hospital and full of graveyard. So we need to tackle that urgently. Yeah, we just wanted to put that in the mix as we're going forward. Give thanks to the time. Blessed love.
caller. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, caller.
Hello, Mr. Abel.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, Mr. Abel, good afternoon.
Caller, please
Mr. Abel,
turn.
quickly, I want to say.
Hold on, caller. Please turn down your radio. I'm getting a terrible feedback.
Quickly, I want to say, Mr. Abel, is that we have a serious problem going in the country right now. Menga much minutes, but I'm going to get to the point. I want to send a current call to the government. Stop telling people. Don't it is a dangerous act, you know. We can develop a kit for that thing, you know. All them young men are turn right the port. Man, it's a stinky here.
Okay, caller.
You can turn me right in the country and all the people.
Caller. We just want some context. Okay. So we needed some context. He said turn away at the port. I did not get the understanding of exactly what he was saying. But he was making his point, but I couldn't understand, and I'm guessing as well the people at those listening also did not get the understanding of what he was saying. But back to the phone lines. Caller, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yes, I'm calling to say, when you are with a criminal or encountering a criminal, when seconds count, the overwhelming vast majority of the time, at best, the police are minutes away. At best, the overwhelming vast majority of the time. And so that is why we see all of those situations, is why we see the biblical wisdom in why the Bible forbids government from making such things as guns illegal and drugs too.
Caller.
Because the result is negative, destructive, and perilous and ruinous.
Okay, caller, I get what you're saying, right? But at what point, right, and I'm not bashing you or anything, but at what point do we say that, and we're being pragmatic here, that based on what you're saying, that these, and you're basically quoting the Bible and suggesting that this is what's said in the Bible, that, and you said this earlier, that guns it's okay for people to have guns. And now you're basically saying, the government should take its hand out of this issue. But let us be frank, we have a serious problem across the Caribbean. Guns are the leading cause of death surrounding homicides in the Caribbean region. And something has to be done, even if it means that the government has to put its hand in and say, listen, enough is enough with this. So you're now saying that we should leave it up to the people to make this determination. I do not necessarily agree with that. But go ahead, make your point.
Yes, and that is the Bible where to go, because anything that goes contrary to the Bible actually ends up being ruinous, destructive, and perilous, because God's curse is upon that and not blessings. And that would include making guns and drugs illegal.
But
yes,
again,
go ahead. I'm listening.
At what point do we say that we take sense out of nonsense based on what you're saying and say, hey, okay, this is written in the book, but we have to be frank and say that, okay, based on what my understanding is, this is not relevant to today's understanding. Because I'm sure that the other people in the religious community would also tell you that if something does not make sense, then you do not necessarily use it or implement it. And even if something is written in the book, it simply means that your interpretation of it would have to be something that's relevant and pragmatic for that particular situation. And let's look at what's happening now. Gun violence is there. If you're telling me that it's not good to go contrary to the Bible, and we're going along with the Bible, and this is what's happening, it's not making sense.
Because what we are seeing manifesting is because of our contrariness to the Bible. And we are trying to fix it with more contrariness to the Bible, making it worse and worse.
So based on your argument, right, that we should leave the guns and the drugs to be and not deal with that, right? That is what's happening now, and we are basically seeing a skyrocket or crime and violence skyrocketing across the Caribbean region, right? And the United States is saying, hey, I'm going to partner with you guys because, you know, the guns are coming from my country, and I'm going to assist you guys in terms of preventing it from coming out to the United States. So how is that going contrary to the Bible when we have a problem that is going to be dealt with? The Lord said to be wise, don't be foolish. And being wise means that if you see a problem, you deal with the problem.
Based upon the Bible said the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Wisdom is obeying the Bible and not leaning on your own understanding, as the Bible says, which is the foolish way to go, leaning on your own understanding rather than going according to the Bible, rather than going according to the Bible. We are locking up people, finding people, that sort of stuff, for drugs and guns. So we are not leaving it alone. We are going contrary to the Bible. And because of that, people who do not want to get in problem, which is the vast majority of the people who do not want to go to jail and that sort of stuff, do not have any gun for their protection.
Yeah, but Carla, again, right? So if we decided to give everybody in St. Kitts and Nevis weapons, how is that solving the actual problem that we have at hand, which is crime and violence? One. Two, we are trying to find, quote unquote, the underlying issue of gun violence in St. Kitts and Nevis and the broader Caribbean region. That is what our leaders across the region are trying to find a solution to. So if we know that poverty is the problem, take people out of poverty. If a mental issue or anger is the problem, we deal with that, right? But you're telling me now that we are going contrary to the Bible because we're seeking to solve a problem. But I'll give you 30 seconds to respond. We're going contrary to the Bible. How is that solving the problem? How is that solving the problem? By giving everybody guns.
Right. Well, one of the ways, and we see the Bible wisdom at play. Well, for example, if you go to John Lott Jr. Twitter, which is now called X, site, a page, you will see on his Twitter now called X page, John Lott Jr. Lott is L-O-T-T. If you go to his page, you will see pinned at the top of his page an article, and at the link, it will take you to an article called FBI Data on Active Shootings is Misleading by John Lott Jr.
Okay.
And you will see in that article where he shows you that guns, for example, in America, are used more for self-defense than in keeping than in committing crime.
Again, Carla.
And you will see, the Bible wisdom is that when government disarms its people, the criminals are still going to have their guns. They're not afraid. They're going to still have their guns.
Okay.
So what happens is that you make it much easier for them to commit crimes against the vast majority of the citizens who are unarmed. And not only that, if me not got armed and me see my neighbor come under attack and my neighbor not got armed, I go quicker not go to help him than if I have an armed we can go to assess against whatever criminal he might be facing. And that is why we now have to wait on the police, which are minutes away when seconds count.
Yeah, but I have to take another call, but I just want to make the point again, right? That we're going to disagree to agree on this topic, right? But the fact that you're saying, which I don't necessarily agree with, and I guess many people wouldn't agree with either, is the fact that you're saying that the Bible is suggesting that we should arm everyone. That for me does not make any sense. But you can call back in.
I do not know about. Okay. I didn't see the Bible say that the government should give people guns and arm everyone. What the Bible does say is that it does not give government the right to.
Okay, so we have to go pay some bills. just head across to 4th Street and some other areas and pay some bills. And then we'll come right back and continue with more of this discussion on Inside the News here on Win FM.
Company Limited. We care about your investment. Guarantee you peace of mind. The best team in the business. Guarantee you peace of mind. No other company will. Guarantee you peace of mind. Together we'll succeed and guarantee you peace of mind. CDC Insurance Company Limited, where you get more coverage for less.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
People make the world go
And we are back here on Voice and Inside News, rather, and we go to the phone line. Caller, good afternoon.
Yeah, man. Good afternoon, man. How you doing, man?
I am well, and yourself? Caller?
You still? Yeah, I'm here. You can hear me, right?
I can hear you now, yes.
Okay, yeah, man. Great discussion today. The last guy there who be talking about the Bible, I would advise him to call back in, man, and finish out his thought. Yeah, man. We gotta keep a watch on the crime in St. Kitts and Nevis. You know what I mean? Okay, but talking about the heads of government. Yeah, Keith Rowley, he made some great statements there about the meeting they had down there in Guyana. But what I want to say to them, man, is there's a debate that's going on in St. Kitts and Nevis, and the St. Kitts team only have one guy on top of it. One guy is on the St. Kitts debate team. You know what I'm saying? They should have had more participation of male students for that St. Kitts debate team. The guy, I don't remember his first name, but I think his last name is Robinson. And me personally, I want to big him up today. And I want to wish him the best in the debates that's happening there. And I hope either St. Kitts or Nevis can maybe pull out that win. Doesn't matter to me, but I want to just big up that guy and tell him keep up the good works. It's all good that some of the youths them have gone astray, but as well as when the guys them are doing good, we need to appreciate them too, man. You know what I'm saying? A lot of stuff is going on in St. Kitts and Nevis, man, and the poor man on the street is who gonna feel the heat, gonna feel the pain every time. I'm noticing that there's a class of people that's developing in the federation. Those ones that have gotten the opportunity to go away to school, then they come back, and they're trying their utmost best to separate themselves from the regular folks. You know what I mean? That's a class of elite people that's building up there, and we gotta focus on the poor. The politicians them. They try to separate themselves as well and play like they're so elitist. You know what I mean? We got to pay attention to what's going on, man. The poor man is suffering. The prices in the stores is increasing. The goods and services are increasing every day. And the minimum wage that they give the people, $70, that money is being absorbed in one shopping bag when you go in the grocery store. What I'm looking at right now, it was a big talk in town about the increase with the parliamentarians, and the masses of the people was very disappointed. That's a debate that's going to continue, And yeah, we got to respect each other's opinions on that. But me personally, I don't agree with that increase, and I have my reasons why. But I've said this from last year. When they tried to get that increase last year and they didn't get it, they came back this year and they rushed that straight to the parliament real quickly. And then now the discussion is only afterwards and not before.
Okay, so Carla, on that point, right? I just want to get your feeling quickly. When do you believe would have been the best time for that increase to come?
Well, really, the former prime minister was empathetic in putting the brakes on it, even though they were the one that did the study. You know what I mean? Me personally, I would have wanted to see the economy built up a little bit more. And I don't agree with them taking that big increase one time. They should have staggered that and take some now and maybe some later on. Later on, when the economy builds up even more. Yeah, they could have taken a little bit right now. You know what I mean? That would show that they're empathetic to the public. And that's where the public cry is coming from. You know what I mean? The big increase one time. Most persons are looking at this 25 to 33% increase as a huge chunk at this time. They should have staggered it, take some now and maybe some later on. They would have a more compassion from the public. You know what I'm saying? The public would have seen them more in the light of them thinking about the common man who got to absorb those exorbitant prices in the stores. You know what I mean? That's what my view is as I listen more and more. You know what I mean? As the economy builds more, stronger, then they can get that other part of the increase later on. Just the same how they did the minimum wage increase. Why didn't they put the 500 on straight one time? The January 1st, and not $70 and have the people waiting for the next increase June or July of next year. Just as well as they did the common man with the minimum wage increase, they should have did that themselves. What I'm going to look at this year, though, is when December comes, when the next talk going to come up for a bonus, whether the bonus can be a double, because last year we saw that they only gave a 50% bonus instead of a double like what the people normally get in the years past. So that's what I'm going to look at, the next observation I'm going to make. So if they bring a double next time, when they put the double next time, if they do, they themselves going to be getting so much more money, bro. You understand? That they themselves collects a double as well. And that's what I'm going to look at when December gets here. Concerning the meeting in Guyana, Haiti is in turmoil, and the representatives from the Caribbean, they're acknowledging the leader of Haiti, but that leader of Haiti was not democratically elected. Number two, Haiti is in turmoil. The moment they announced that they want to try to get Haiti to go elections in 25, the increase in violence start happening immediately, to the point where some airplanes on the tarmac probably got damaged or whatever, and flights now is being canceled. But in the meantime, I focus on the opposition leader in Guyana, clapped at the president of Guyana recently. And she was saying that the previous administration in Guyana, they was allowing the Haitians to come in visa-free, right? And then now here we have the present leader of Guyana. He overturned that. And now he requiring the Haitians them to get a visa to travel to Guyana. I mean, these guys are not really trying to help Haiti like that.
So let me push back on that one, Carla, because it's not only Guyana that's doing that, and I find the statement kind of hypocritical from the leader of the opposition.
No, what I'm saying is, yes, I understand, and I know there's other islands that did that, possibly Bahamas and one or two other in the region. Yeah, I've followed that. So what I'm saying, all of them who have did that, I'm calling them out, because here they're going to Guyana to talk about the Haitian issue, but in the meantime, they're not really helping Haiti like that. You know what I'm saying? In Guyana, we have the conflict with Venezuela, and Venezuelans are getting into Guyana more easy than Haitians. And on top of that, concerning the increases, Irfan Ali down in Guyana, he gave himself a 5 times increase than his predecessor had in terms of a salary. That I want you to research and bring that point back. You know what I'm saying? Talking about the increase of the parliamentarians in St. Kitts Nevis and in the region. In the region, the politicians, them, they're all going to now start trying to get these increases. That's going to be something that's going to be happening more in the region.
All right.
And one more other point before I go real quickly. When they went to the meeting in Guyana, did they say anything about Mexico? Because, you know, Mexico has sued the gun manufacturers in America. So I want to know if these leaders in the Caribbean have signed on to Mexico with that suit.
Let me respond to that, caller. There are a couple of territories that responded, that signed on to it. We only got the communique, the full communique yesterday from CARICOM, from the heads of government meeting. We have not fully digested the communique yet, but it only came out, matter of fact, last evening. I actually received the communique. But you made a valid point there in terms of
So that's my major contributions for the day. So thanks for that response on the last point there. And you know, we looking one thing that I'm glad that they stated, they want a ceasefire in Gaza. And maybe we might ask for a ceasefire in St. Kitts Nevis too, and concerning the gun violence with the gang members now, with the murders that been happening in St. Kitts and Nevis. Maybe the Prime Minister needs to come out and ask the gangsters and the criminals for a ceasefire in St. Kitts Nevis as well.
All right.
And that's my contribution for the day, man. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, caller. Well, you see, the issue surrounding the Haitians, even though we're speaking about this particular topic, the Haiti situation is a sort of a complex issue that regional leaders have not been able to resolve. And Barbados' Prime Minister Mia Mottley actually spoke to a bit of it. In terms of the CSME and the free movement, they kind of put a lid on Haiti being part of it because of the humanitarian issue facing the territory. They've not done it because, well, they instituted that because they fear that if the free movement continues, then they can be like what St. Kitts and Nevis has been saying. There can be a run on the mill of them actually fleeing the country, and you have this humanitarian crisis in various territories. That's one of the reasons they try, and that's me putting it in layman terms, so you can understand the issue surrounding Haiti and the free movement. The issue, from my understanding, with Guyana implementing the visa is the same issue St. Kitts and Nevis had and Bahamas have, because what they found is that more Haitians are coming out and they are staying, specifically running to these territories. Even though the Haitians do not come to St. Kitts and Nevis, they oftentimes dropped off in St. Kitts and Nevis. In order to not have that run of the mill. The issue with Guyana is actually Guyana was a launching or transshipment point, not the best term to use there, but a transshipment point for Haitians who are intending to go to places like French Guyana. Right. So you have those people who are going to go there, and then they're going to seek to either go to Suriname or onwards to French Guyana. Because of that, what the government found, they have they've imposed visas on Haitians. Is that the right thing to do under the Treaty of Chaguaramas? Not necessarily. That's not the solution. We're seeing what's happening in the Bahamas as well, where both administration, Philip Davis and others, they are now clamping down on what they call the shanty towns over in the Bahamas, where a number of Haitians would have established themselves on some one of the islands, New Providence or Eleuthera, or one of the other smaller ones, where they found that these people are actually, building communities, and the communities are not necessarily being built in such a manner that they can withstand hurricanes. Because what they found coming out of Hurricane Dorian, probably 2020, 2021, don't recall exactly when that was, that the structures that were built in the Bahamas, they were not necessarily withstanding hurricanes, and you had a number of people who died within the Bahamas that are of Haitian descent, who they still have not been able to identify in 2024. So those were some of the issues for context. What why they did what they did over in those countries. Right. It's not necessarily the best thing under the Treaty of Chaguaramas, but we go back to the phone lines. Caller, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Joe.
Hey, good afternoon.
Hey, Joe, I'm here listening. I just a while ago tune in. Talking about the crime and talking about gang. The last call is about gang. I don't feel like we're gonna gang here such now, because the farm administration did get these guys together and do what they got to do. And these guys was going from community to community, going from places to places, and nothing was happening. You understand? And some of these guys who was affiliated themselves to gang.
Well,
I see them up and down the place now.
So basically what we're discussing, right, and just to give it some context, we heard from Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley. He talked about, and I read a piece of the U.S. State Department's press release that came out that I received last evening, which basically said CARICOM and the United States are partnering under this Operation Hammerhead, which basically is giving more screening to packages leaving the United States destined for the Caribbean region. And what they found, and this is for all of 2023, they found 23,000 plus rounds of ammunition destined for the Caribbean, 339 firearms, and 400 plus barrels, which include, and I'm guessing would include the bullets. I didn't get that.
Except they know who doing that.
Well, that's the thing.
The leader of the Caribbean or whosoever know who doing sending these arms, these ammunition.
Well, that's statistics. The statistics that I just gave you is what the United States would have garnered from the screening that they would have conducted in terms of packages leaving the United States destined for the Caribbean region. So the United States would have those individuals in custody or continue with their investigations.
So what our security borders are doing when all those things are happening?
Well, based on the State Department's information, or press release rather, they indicated that they're partnering with the Caribbean region and other agencies. And I'm guessing because it's an ongoing investigation, certain things cannot be released, but they'll just give you broad categories and figures in terms of what they found for 2023. To answer your question specifically...
Before I go, no. Before we sit down and we analyze what's going on, this blame game going on, who is doing this and who is doing that. We just had the National Day of Prayer. And I believe that sometimes we got to take the political battle out of certain things, especially with this crime. We are looking good, we are sounding good, and we as human beings, we as one another, one brother keeper. We look out for each other and meet these guys and talk to these guys and ask them the problem. Instead of coming back and forth, cussing government, cussing this, cussing that. Man, we need to come more conscious on that, Because if we just come and cuss, what can take place? The guys them out there listening to us, man, them don't have respect, them at this, them at that. They're not coming with a solution or get out of this, the gun difficulties, shooting down one another or whatsoever. Man, we got to come real and stop come on and cuss. Come on with this kind of anger. You understand? The government, they may take up no guns in nobody. And me going to play, the government, they may take up no guns in nobody. Go shoot down nobody. Government go there and do that. And I don't think no government will take up no gun, okay, a young man and woman to shoot one another. You understand? And we got to get real with these things. This is our country. Let me see the best, what we could tell our people. And when we see these young men, talk to them. Ask them the problem. Instead of coming and cussing, but government this, government that. Government will do, government got to do what they got to do. And we got to do what we got to do too. If we are citizens of the country and we don't try to help and we reach out to them, These things gonna happen all the time. You understand? It's our concern. It could happen to me, it could happen to my brother, it could happen to my son, it could happen to my daughter, somebody gets killed and thing. Do you mean, do we have a killing recently again?
Not that I'm aware of. Recently, no.
Oh, okay. All right then, Brother Joe, you take care.
Thanks, caller.
People make the world go round. People make the world go round.
Yes, so we continue with the discussions here on Win FM. You know, as I said, we are taking a look into this particular problem from what was discussed at the CARICOM level to indicate that regional leaders are working to combat this problem. Right? They've reached out to the United States. The United States did acknowledge and they're willing to work and partner with the region, to stem the flow of illegal guns, firearms, ammunition, and so forth into the region, because it is definitely a problem. It is a problem. It has become a national health issue across the region. And regional leaders are looking at the issue of crime and violence as, something that's of a health concern across the region. And, that's what we're thinking. We're not discussing anything political or so forth. We're just connecting the dots so people can get a better understanding on what the views are of people here in St. Kitts and Nevis when it comes to the fact that success is being made in terms of stemming the flow of illegal firearms, illegal weapons, illegal ammunition, and so forth into the region. So success is being made, so we must give kudos to those who are discussing this problem. We go back to the phone and caller. Good afternoon.
Yes, hello. I'd like to quickly say something else. I don't want to give anybody the wrong impression that what I said concerning what the Bible says about guns and drugs and that sort of stuff, the Bible stands on it, is all that is need to be done. So there's a lot more need to be done. Those are only steps, certain steps in the biblical direction to go. That is not all. Because also what needs to be done, we need to also implement what the Bible teaches about economics, government, the justice system, and that sort of stuff. We need to teach, we need to learn what the Bible says about, for example, which economic system is the best to have so that things can be very cheap in the country. Jobs of all sorts can be most plentiful, that sort of stuff. Because idle hands, especially young idle hands.
Carla, I don't want to knock your religious perspective, right? But I think one of the things we have to acknowledge, right? And for me, this is me to you, is, and I agree that, you bring a religious perspective to the discussion, which is always welcome. But we also have to acknowledge that there's not just, even though you are a Christian and you give that perspective, you also have to acknowledge that there are other religions as well in this world. And we all, again, based on this program, share differing views, right? So when we talk about this whole aspect of Christianity and just the Christian view of this whole discussion, we have to acknowledge as well that there are other religions here in St. Kitts and Nevis. We have Muslims, we have Hindus, and we have some other smaller denominations in terms of religions, right? So to just bring that perspective, for me, is kind of losing the whole discussion surrounding religion and what role religion plays in terms of guiding St. Kitts and Nevis, and the whole thinking of how it deals with crime and violence, how it deals with the economy, how it deals with children and students and so forth, that perspective, right? So I just want to throw that out there.
Well, I know that there are other religions, but I'm bringing what I believe to be correct, okay? And what I'm saying, and I'm not only that, but I'm seeing it played out in the world, because the more I see countries move towards the biblical way of doing, even though they're doing it unintentionally and unknowingly, the better such countries become. And what I'm saying is that, for example, we need to know, for example, how to implement, for for example. We need to know what the Bible says about economics, for example, and government, so that, for example, when you implement those things, as countries have doing to a certain degree, unknowingly and unintentionally, you will see things get cheaper, more jobs of all sorts come into being and into existence in your economy. Your economy grows and grows the more you do things the biblical way. And we know that idle hands at Satan's workshop to commit crimes and that sort of stuff. And therefore, the more jobs you have and the cheaper things get, and so the lower the cost of living, that sort of stuff gets, and that sort of, and more jobs is the less idle hands you will have, and the less crime.
But whose responsibility it is to create those jobs? Are we just going to be dependent on the government to create those jobs?
No. What happened is that the Bible shows us that the free market capitalist economy is the way to go with very limited government. And when you do that,
yes, I understand that much, right?
That is at least characterized by the continual lowering of taxes.
Yes, I understand that, right, caller. But again, whose responsibility it is to create the jobs?
Right. Yes. When government create that economy by implementing such biblical principles, whether knowingly or unknowingly, what you will find that your private sector would take off and be growing and growing and growing, and that is what will cause jobs to be increasing more and more and more and more in your economy. And that's how you increase jobs in your economy.
In essence, you're saying then that it goes back to the government at the end of the day, because you're saying that government has to lower the taxes, and if government lower the taxes, it then comes back to them at the end of the day. So in essence, it's not the private sector that's doing the bulk of the work.
Once the government do their part, as the Bible says, that now will provide the atmosphere for the private sector to grow and to be increasing jobs and to be decreasing the cost of living, so that people could buy more and more and more. And this also, in addition to what I said concerning the guns and the drugs, in addition as well, would also help in a very, very big way to lower crime, because you would have less idle hands in the economy and in the country.
So
because idle hands, especially the youth, dabbles a lot in crime.
So the bottom line is, it comes back to the government.
Well, it comes back to the government doing the biblical role, what the Bible says that they should be doing. That is why it comes back to.
All right, thanks a lot, caller. We're just about to wrap the program here. We just take one quick break, and then we'll come right back and wrap Inside the News.
People make the world go
round. We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
TDC Financial Services. We're here for you to help you make your dreams come true. Whether your needs are big or small, we'll support you with them all. TDC Financial Services. We are strong. TDC Financial Services. This is where you belong.
TDC Financial Services, where money is made easy.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects or sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
People make the world go round.
And we are back. We go straight to the phone lines with this caller. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hey, good afternoon.
Oh, man, I'm so glad to hear you. Good afternoon, Brother Greg. Now, what we need to understand, let me deal with the Haiti matter. Haiti has more population, a bigger population than maybe all the CARICOM countries combined. Now, it is not, people hate the Haitians, you know. But can you imagine an outflow, a serious outflow of Haitians into any Caribbean island? So that is why people ask for visa and certain limitation. They are, in fact, protecting their own economies. That's how I see it, eh? Because sometimes, oh, why they think them? Look, the case you talk about in Bahamas, where we have it here too. People coming from Santo Domingo and so, and then they need lodgings, accommodation, and they put up shacks. And then when you had the hurricane and thing, I mean, so many of the people died. So that the countries cannot provide the infrastructure to facilitate a major inflow, not even in Guyana. And to say, oh, the Venezuela come across the border, because as they say, it's just what the river that separate them. Now, Brother Greg is a libertarian, and he must remember the scripture that says, people did what was right in their own sight. He knows the culture is different. The economies were different. We're talking about an agrarian peasant economy, not a modern economy. So when crops fail, we starve, and in no case at all would the Bible condone destructive life behavior. So the thing about let them use the drugs, that is not biblical. The Bible does not condone or promote self-destructive behavior. And if without it, and you can go back to Leviticus and so, the people's lives are regulated. It was the Moses or whoever gave them the rules. They didn't do as they like. So he said, oh, let's give them, and they only arm one another. And in fact, some of them didn't even own the arms. When they were going to war, the king gave them. And the Bible economy is talking about, there was no elected government, you know. Are you aware of that?
Mm-hmm.
It was kings. They had judges, then they had kings. So this thing about, oh, and the government, this and that. He tend to twist the Bible to suit his libertarian point of view. That is all there is to it. All right, then, enjoy your weekend. You all go to church.
All right, thanks.
Please continue praying for the country and pray for each other. Pray for me. Pray for you. So, Brother Abel, have a good weekend and give God some of your time.
You too. Thanks. Well, there you had it. That was today's edition of Inside the News. How's German Abel sitting in today? Yes. It was good being in your company today. Yes, we focus primarily on what came out of the heads of government, the recently held heads of government meeting down in Guyana. You know, Dr. Keith Rowley, he held a press conference and he spoke to the issue of what was found coming out. He presented a report to the media down in Trinidad in terms of what came out of the whole discussions of crime and violence with the United States, and he presented the data. Then we saw last evening, I received a press statement from the State Department, which, you know, provided context in terms of what Dr. Rowley was talking about. 339 firearms were, so let me back up. 600,000 packages were shipped or in the process of being shipped out to the Caribbean for 2023, out of the United States destined for the Caribbean in 2023. 4,000 of those were referred for secondary screening because of concerns. Within those, they found 23,300 rounds of ammunition, 339 firearms, and 400 barrels. And I think I didn't contextualize barrels. Barrels meaning those barrels that contain the bullets and so forth. So that was what was found last year. So that was the gist of our discussions today here on Inside the News. Well, do enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll be back here on Monday. I'm not sure if I'm going to be here on Monday with you, but nevertheless, Monday you can join the discussion for Island Tea and Voices. And I will be back for you sometime during the course of the week. And maybe I'll be back next week as well. Not sure just yet. But in the meantime, stick and stay tuned to Win FM. Enjoy the programming and the news and sports at 6 and 6:30. Until then, it's goodbye from us here at the Inside of the News team.